The greatest lie modern gardeners tell themselves is that the season ends in October, but the old-timers knew the truth. November is not the end of the harvest. It is the silent, essential beginning of the year's most flavorful and productive crops, if you know the secret timing. The sleeping sentinel. Why November? Garlic tastes like summer. Garlic is the great multiplier, a plant that offers a tenfold return on the small effort you put in. One single clove planted in the autumn dirt transforms into a full bulb, holding up to a dozen new cloves by next summer. But the real return isn't measured in money. It is the deep, essential flavor achieved only through a patient, cold wait. Modern gardeners rush this process, but the old-timers knew the secret. November planting is absolutely critical. Planting in the cool soil allows the garlic to develop strong, extensive root systems all winter long, even while the top seems dormant. This underground strength is what fuels the massive growth and creates the biggest, most flavorful heads come July. The cold period is actually essential for proper bulb formation, a botanical process called vernalization. This cold period is non-negotiable. Without it, your $50 a pound harvest turns into a handful of single, useless bulbs. It is a simple, methodical ritual. Pushing the individual cloves into the soil, pointy end up, about 2 inches deep. This patient, deliberate act ensures the heads are firm, the papery skins are tight, and the flavor is robust. Nothing like the often bland, imported bulbs found in supermarkets. If you only commit to one act of traditional gardening this November, make it this one. It's an investment in flavor and patience. But while garlic demands 6 months of patient waiting, the next crop we'll discuss offers a far faster and far sweeter reward after just one night of frost. The frost-kissed queen, the sweetness found only after the cold. Most people pick their kale too early, only getting the tough, slightly bitter leaves, convinced the plant is a chore, not a delicacy. We forgot that this leafy green is meant to be eaten after it's been frosted, a critical process that turns a hardy plant into a tender, winter luxury. The frost-kissed kale of old was a completely different vegetable than the summer variety. This magic is simple chemistry. A hard frost triggers the kale to convert its internal starches into sugars as a defense mechanism against the cold. The result is a sweetness and texture that no amount of summer sun can achieve. Kale is an absolute powerhouse of persistence. One single plant, once established, will provide you with fresh salads and cooked greens for months on end. The key is practicing the lost art of sustainability, the cut and come again method. You just keep harvesting the larger outer leaves, and the plant continuously produces new growth from its center, essentially offering an endless supply of nutritious greens. Even when the ground is frozen hard or covered with a light snow, that dark, heavily wrinkled leaf stands defiant, a pocket of summer sweetness right beneath the ice. The queen of the cold is a true long-haul hero. Now, if you need a harvest in the next few weeks, there is one green that gives the same zero-waste abundance, but on a rocket-fast timeline. The winter gardener's secret: multiple harvests from the same root. That expensive $5 plastic container of spinach doesn't just cost money, it costs you the knowledge of true abundance. The cool weather spinach of the past was about maximizing yield from minimal space, not a single costly use. It was a secret weapon against the winter slump. This fast-growing green is a champion of productivity because it thrives in the exact same cool weather that slows other crops to a halt. It not only handles frost beautifully, but light freezes actually improve the flavor by converting starches to sugars. The secret to its efficiency lies in the old-world method of cut and come again. When the outer leaves reach 4 to 6 inches, you simply cut them, leaving the center growing point intact. Each plant will regrow 3 or 4 times throughout the winter and early spring, giving you multiple harvests from the same set of roots. To ensure a continuous supply, wise gardeners practiced succession planting, putting in small amounts of seed every 2 weeks through November. A 10-foot row of spinach, with this method, can yield 20 to 30 pounds of fresh greens over the season. That's enough to feed your family every week until spring from one $2 seed packet. This speed and abundance is a winter miracle. But if you want a diverse premium salad mix without the bitterness of summer growth, you must plant its leafy cousin right now. while the sun is low. A cooler head prevails. Why the best lettuce never saw summer. We are taught that spring is the time for leafy greens, but we forgot that this fundamentally means lettuce must endure summer heat, which quickly turns it bitter and causes it to bolt. The old gardener knew better. The truly crisp, flavorful lettuce is grown when the sun is low and the temperatures are cool. November is one of the best times to plant lettuce precisely because the cool weather is its friend. Lettuce loves it, thriving in conditions that make it taste better and last longer. When planted now, baby greens can be ready to harvest in as little as 30 days, even in cool weather, and full heads develop shortly after. The secret to a perfect harvest lies in mixing varieties, combining the soft leaves of butterheads with the crunch of romaine for a diverse and satisfying salad grown from a single bed. Old-timers often use simple structures, like a makeshift cold frame made of old window panes. It wasn't about building a full greenhouse. It was about buffering the harshest 3-day freeze, a tiny dome of glass that kept the salad bowl full. This simple method, repeated generation after generation, guaranteed a continuous supply of salad greens all winter long. The continuous harvest of lettuce is simple, but the next crop on our list is a masterpiece of visual food security. A plant whose stems alone look like a rainbow, providing a continuous, beautiful yield. The rainbow of resilience, the plant that never stops giving. Forget ordinary greens. The old garden was full of color, and the Swiss chard was its beautiful standard bearer. A plant whose striking, vibrant stems signaled a deep-rooted, long-lasting commitment to feeding the family. This was one of the most reliable sights of the winter garden. Chard is one of those plants that just keeps on giving, handling frost better than almost any other vegetable you can grow. One established plant can provide a regular, generous harvest from November straight through to the following spring. It follows the same principle of zero-waste efficiency we've forgotten. You simply harvest the outer leaves, letting the center crown continue to produce new growth. The leaves are perfect for sautéing or adding to soups, but the sturdy jewel-toned stems, which can be chopped and cooked separately, offer an experience almost like asparagus. Wise gardeners space their plants generously, about 8 to 12 inches apart, ensuring they could develop into substantial, bushy food sources by midwinter. The sheer persistence of this vegetable makes it genuinely one of the most productive you can grow in limited space, providing both nutrition and a welcome flash of color when the rest of the landscape is monochrome. This kind of persistence proved that food security could be beautiful. But if you want to eliminate the need for a basement root cellar entirely, the next crop on our list uses the frozen ground itself as the world's most perfect energy-free refrigerator. Earth's refrigerator, sweetness stored under the snow. Before the electric freezer, before the pantry was stocked with processed food, the greatest storage solution was always the earth itself. November-planted carrots used the ground as a cool, perfect humidity cellar, preserving their quality and even improving their flavor. The beauty of carrots is that they allow you to harvest only what you need, leaving the rest safely buried for later. When planted this late in the year, the roots develop slowly through the winter, a process that creates a sweeter, more flavorful carrot than the quick, warm summer growth. The cold soil temperatures prevent the woody texture that often plagues summer-grown varieties. To ensure a continuous supply, the old-timers simply mulched heavily with straw once the ground began to freeze hard. This insulation kept the soil workable, meaning they could push aside the mulch and dig up fresh roots whenever they wanted them. The simple, humble act of pushing aside a blanket of snow and mulch, reaching into the frozen earth, and pulling up a sweet, crisp carrot, that was a luxury born of planning. It's a flavor experience no supermarket can replicate. That efficiency, that double reward, is also found in a smaller root crop that offers 2 harvests from a single seed. The double harvest. 2 essential crops from a single seed. The modern gardener buys tender greens separately from sweet roots, but the old gardener knew better. They got 2 nutritious essential crops from one single, efficient planting. The beet was a powerhouse of double productivity, ready to feed the family early and late. When you plant beets now, you are investing in 2 different harvests. The tender, vitamin-packed greens are ready to pick in just a few weeks, providing a much-needed nutrient boost in the early winter months. Meanwhile, as you harvest the greens, the sweet, earthy roots continue to swell and mature underground. The key to the highest yield was the simple act of thinning. Because each beet seed is actually a cluster of seeds, multiple seedlings emerge from a single spot. The thinnings themselves were tender. Young microgreens the family ate immediately, ensuring that every single seed delivered a payoff, leaving absolutely nothing to waste. It was the ultimate food economy. The beet is efficient and dual purpose. But if you need a guaranteed harvest before the new year, there is one root crop that is literally the speed champion of the entire November garden. The patience breaker. Crisp roots in less than a month. Not everything in the old garden took a season of patient waiting. The radish was the speed champion, the immediate reward that satisfied the urge to harvest, even in the deepest cold. For the gardener who needed a quick, tangible win, the radish was the answer. These crisp roots are ready in just 20 to 30 days, making them perfect for succession planting every single week through November. Each planting takes up minimal space and matures before the next one needs the room, a masterclass in maximizing limited ground. Radishes actually prefer cool weather. They become woody and unpleasantly spicy if grown in summer heat. November gives them ideal conditions for developing that crisp, juicy texture and just the right amount of peppery bite. For generations, this was the perfect crop for teaching children the instant gratification of gardening, providing a rapid, visible result that inspired them to commit to the slower crops. By simply sowing a few seeds at a time, the old-timers guaranteed a continuous supply of fresh crunch when winter diets often became heavy and dull. These tiny, reliable roots were an inexpensive flash of flavor in the cold. Now, we move on to a patient, architectural giant, the only crop that rewards your effort by giving you a completely unexpected second harvest when you thought the season was over. The second sprout, the crop, that doubles its promise. You pay $3 or $4 for one head of broccoli at the store, treating it as a single-use vegetable. Our ancestors, version delivered 2, 3, and often 4 times that yield, all from the same plant and the same patch of soil. It was a promise of abundance that kept on giving. Broccoli is a cool weather champion that actually tastes sweeter and develops tighter heads when grown through the fall and winter, rather than bolting prematurely in spring. The great secret to its efficiency is the phenomenon of the second harvest. When you cut the central crown, the plant doesn't surrender. Instead, in a miracle of cool weather efficiency, it directs all its energy into producing multiple side shoots for weeks afterward. It is a completely unexpected bonus harvest. By starting with transplants in November, the gardener gave the plant 60 to 70 days to establish before the main harvest hit at the end of winter. This was a masterclass in maximizing space, proving the true value of one plant's commitment to providing. That principle of a single stalk yielding dozens of miniature crops is elevated even further by the next essential winter vegetable, a single plant that stacks 50 or more perfect tiny cabbages right up its stem. The winter lollipops, sweeter, after the first deep freeze. If you think you hate Brussels sprouts, it's only because you've never had one grown the old-fashioned way, harvested after the first hard freeze. The sprouts found in the market are often bitter and bland, but the heirloom variety, ripened in the cold, is a sweet, nutty delicacy. Brussels sprouts are a long-season crop, taking 90 to 100 days to mature, which is precisely why November planting works perfectly for a late winter and early spring harvest. The secret that old gardeners relied upon is not just the cold, but the frost. Those cold nights force the plant to convert its starches into sugars, making those little cabbages sweeter and far less bitter than any store-bought variety you've ever had. A single plant, with its large architectural stalk, produces 50 or more individual sprouts climbing right up the stem, making it a spectacular winter sight. Old world wisdom also dictated removing the lower leaves as the plant grew, a purposeful pruning that directed all the plant's energy into tight, flavorful sprout formation. This kind of security from a single hardy stalk is mirrored in the humble cabbage, but on a massive scale. The next crop provides the sheer, compact volume needed to feed a family through the entire depth of winter. The anchor of the winter kitchen, months of security from one head. In the days before refrigeration and continuous supermarket stock, few vegetables offered the sheer, tangible food security of a well-grown cabbage head. It was the anchor of the winter kitchen, a compact store of food that lasted for months. A single cabbage head can weigh anywhere from 3 to 10 pounds, depending on the variety, representing significant savings and a massive amount of food from one small spot of ground. Cabbage loves the cool weather and handles frost remarkably well, making November ideal for getting those transplants established. The firmness and consistency of the head are directly related to the cool, consistent growing conditions provided by a winter planting. For the older generations, these big, tightly wrapped heads didn't just provide dinner, they offered serious insurance. Once harvested, they would sit happily in a root cellar or cool pantry for 3 to 4 months, a compact store of food that required zero electricity. This was a huge reward for minimal space. That same reliable hardiness is found in a 2-for-1 crop that gives you both peppery greens and sweet roots so quickly, you'll barely be out of November before you're harvesting. The speedy all-purpose root. Greens and roots in 40 days. Turnips have been unfairly relegated to a side dish, often associated with a strong, unpleasant flavor. But for the efficient gardener of the past, they were a quick return powerhouse. 2 nutritious foods ready when all the others had slowed down. Turnips are the ultimate dual-purpose winner, delivering a harvest in 2 quick stages. The peppery greens are ready to be picked in just 3 weeks, while the sweet roots mature shortly after, in 40 to 50 days. This makes them one of the fastest producing root crops you can plant in November, thriving precisely when growth is otherwise scarce and supermarket vegetables are shipping from thousands of miles away. The key to their mild, pleasant flavor is harvesting them young. Nothing like those large, strong flavored turnips some people remember from childhood. Just like with beets, the gardener practiced zero-waste efficiency by using the seedlings removed during thinning as tender, excellent microgreens for the salad bowl. This logic of a small start leading to a big year-round reward is mirrored in the humble onion, but its true magic is that it does 2 separate jobs for you in the winter garden, giving you a dual harvest from one planting. The 2-season investment. The bulb that spends all winter. Working frame onion sets are a kind of garden magic trick. You plant a small dormant bulb now, and by spring, it's done 2 jobs for the price of 1. It's a clever 2-stage system for ensuring a continuous supply of one of the kitchen's most essential ingredients. When you plant onion sets, those small, partially grown bulbs, in November, they establish quickly, even in the cool soil. The green tops will grow slowly through the coldest months, and you can snip them as needed for cooking without ever harming the developing bulb below. This provides delicate green onions throughout the winter, a fresh taste when all other herbs are dormant. But that is only the first reward. As the days lengthen in spring, those same plants focus their energy into bulbing up into full-sized, ready-to-store onions. The cold temperatures of winter don't just help them survive. They are a necessary part of the process, guaranteeing a stronger final bulb yield that stores beautifully. This practical 2-season investment saved families money and provided long, beautiful onion braids. Now, we move on to one final, spicy green, a gourmet luxury that the old gardener knew how to get for pennies, which will literally reseed itself for years of effortless harvest. The gourmet ghost, spice and self-seeding in the shadows. Why pay a premium for a handful of spicy greens at the market when one seed packet promises a perpetual supply? Arugula is the secret gourmet luxury of the cool weather garden, a quick-growing plant that the old-timers knew how to get for pennies. Arugula grows incredibly fast, producing baby greens ready for harvest in just 30 to 40 days, even in cool November weather. The peppery flavor adds a wonderful complexity to winter salads and sandwiches, offering a vibrant kick when other flavors are muted. Here is the really amazing thing about this crop, and the reason it was so treasured: it self-seeds readily. Once you planted it, you could simply let a few plants go to flower in the spring, and they would drop seeds that sprouted naturally the following fall, coming back year after year without you ever buying another seed packet. This made it the ultimate high reward, no effort tradition. Now, for our final crop, we turn to a traditionally robust green that provides the last essential spicy kick needed in the dead of winter. The kick and the regrowth, spice that loves the cold. When the first tender frost hits, most plants fold and turn to mush. Mustard greens, however, just gather their strength and their distinctive spice. They are the tough, dependable green that refuses to quit, a staple of cool weather kitchens across the country. Mustard greens are one of the fastest leafy crops you can grow, ready to harvest in just 30 to 40 days. And they regrow quickly after cutting, giving you multiple yields from the same planting. Though they handle heat better than most greens, they actually prefer cool weather for developing their best flavor. The signature taste has a pleasant spicy kick that provided a necessary flavor punch when bland canned goods were the winter norm. You could eat the younger leaves raw in salads, or cook the mature leaves down to mellow the heat, offering wonderful versatility. November. Planting ensured the plants thrived through winter and were ready to take off vigorously in early spring. The old gardener knew these plants were incredibly resilient, but their greatest lesson was not what they planted, but what they didn't do. That commitment to trusting the cold season leads to the final, most important piece of winter gardening wisdom, the secret to why the past generations' cold weather crops always thrived. We've covered the forgotten patience and efficiency of the old winter garden. If you found the secret to the frost-kissed kale or the genius of earth-stored carrots helpful, hit that like button to spread the wisdom and subscribe for more deep dives into lost self-sufficiency.